Okay, folks, happy Sunday evening. Ugh. All right. So, where we left off this morning, as we'd given the shade to the Packwagen. This one is from Rodin, the Rodin Packwagen. And the extra the green stuff tracks that we epoxied onto the boy, I'm just like a loss for words here, to the side of the turret of the Panther. Now, one thing I just noticed that we're going to have to do is, as much as I like Plastic Soldier Company, they are not without fault. Not every company does everything great. And these don't have a coaxial machine gun or the gun sight. So they're literally shooting blind. So let's go take care of that before we go any further. And the easiest thing is to, the first Panthers, the D's, had a stereoscopic sight, meaning it had two holes in it, and then you had the MG34 there on this side. And the G's, the latest version, does not have the stereoscopic. So let's see which version, what they have. I suspect it's not a stereoscopic sight. Here is one. This is a Panther. This is a Panther A from BP Cast. So we're gonna go get our Squadron Signal Panther book and go ahead and drill that stuff out while we're thinking about it, because it's pretty noticeable and it's an easy thing to fix. Let's get our, and I like the Squadron Signal books the best because they just cut out all the crap. They've got their age now. There's probably better things. I mean, hell, it even has the price on this, $3.95. This hasn't been $3.95 in a long ass time. So let's go over here to the Panther A. And just as I suspected, it has a, oh look, here's an example of one of those Panthers. Even has it right here with the extra tracks on the side of the turret. It's St. Lo, Normandy. Yep. And the antenna is here on both of those. So we'll be installing that on there. But it looks like there is a single sight on one side. And let's see if we have an actual drawing. They do that on some of these. If not, I will use this one as a guide. The gun sight actually has almost like a little bevel on top of it, probably to keep the rain from going directly in there. We won't be installing that. That's a detail too far. That is a detail too far. So we're going to go ahead and keep this open to this page where it kind of shows the front of it here. The gun sight is really close to the actual barrel, and this one's up and over here. So this looks fairly accurate. So I'm going to go ahead and use that as a guide. Okay. We're going to do two different drills on there. Go ahead and knock that out before we forget to do it. So I'm actually going to take, let's see if my mechanical pencil's here. Or this would probably work just fine. So we're going to use the non-commander's version as the guinea pig first. The gun sight is even with the middle of the barrel, and it's over just a smidge, which means it's going to be right there. The machine gun is up a little bit and over. So since we have this Zimmerit stuff on here, even as this row here, so the other one would be like in the break between this Zimmerit row and the other one. Maybe at the corner of these two panels. But there. Okay, which means on this one, it'll be at the corner here, and the other one is there. Okay, so you've got those marked out. Not included on the model. Okay, is this one too big? I'm going to actually use one that's a little smaller, and then we'll go to that. And for the gun sight, we'll even go one bigger than that. But it's the gun sight's actually not going to be really deep. I'll make the machine gun really deeper. Let's go and get the drill bits. The drill bitten. Actually, I've got... I forget I have these. These might actually be too big, all of them. Or not. Let's pull a couple of those out. Yep. Let's put this back. Drilling into plastic is just a pleasure compared to drilling into white metal. White metal is just like, what did I do to deserve this? What did I do to deserve this? Wow, it's awfully loose, actually. I'm going to have to use an X-Acto knife? I think so. All right, let's go ahead and drill both of these out. which should be fairly painless. And then this one's at the intersection up here. So it's going to be here. Okay, now the gun sight's pretty big. I'm going to take this hole and enlarge it, and this will be the one for the machine gun. As a matter of fact, while I'm thinking about it, I'm going to go ahead and drill the where the antenna goes. I won't install an antenna, but we're going to go ahead and drill that. Might even go bigger than that. All right. I'm going to trim this flush. And I'm going to go ahead and put a starter hole there. All right, I'm going to cut this one flush. And we're going to put a starter hole right there. Okay, then we'll take this one we were doing. We've already done that size for the machine gun. Okay, I guess I did all of these. Let's see how deep this goes. That's plenty deep for the antenna. All right. And same thing here. Something like a couple millimeters is deep enough. Like 2. Okay, so that's done. I'm gonna keep making it bigger. Deep red. What's happening, man? What's on the table today? Everything. I got a couple of Panthers that we are drilling some things that the manufacturer should have already made on them. And then we have a Pachtwagen. That's what we're going to do next. Is we're going to actually we're going to paint the tracks on the Panthers, and then we'll go back to the Pachtwagen. I don't know. I don't know which one I'm going to do first. Probably the tracks on the Panther, because that needs to dry before I can dry brush it. So this is the gun sight. How are you doing today? What are you working on? Yeah, I almost feel like the machine gun needs to be this size too, but we're enlarging them slowly. That's going to keep things from getting out of hand. Okay, that's better. And then we'll go bigger one size on the gun sight. You know, we don't have a time frame when we have to get these things done by, so easy does it. Easy does it. These are a couple Panthers that we're doing, similar to the ones that were used by Panzerlehr in Normandy. And a lot of them had this extra track that was on the side of them. Let's go up to this size. Hopefully we don't overdo it here. Should be all right. We don't necessarily have to go very deep with this one. All right, I like that. I like that. Just like that. Okay. It's just pleasant to drink to drink. Yes, it is pleasant to drink also, but I get sleepy. It's pleasant to drill plastic. It's just, especially this plastic that isn't brittle at all. And normally I would just like to finish one vehicle and move on to the next one, but unfortunately, this takes steps that need to dry before you can go on to something else. You're not working on much. Made some alternative history of World War I British tanks. Just made them wider by adding an extra hull section, so they're really wide. I wonder if they look better to you. They probably do. They're not very No World War tanks are attractive. None of them. I don't think any of them are. Actually, none of them are attractive. they just aren't. They just aren't. The German ones aren't attractive. The A7's not attractive. The Saint-Chamond is kind of unique. It really does look like a land battleship. The French FT-17 doesn't look too bad. Okay, so now this can go to the next step. So if we're going to paint the tracks, we're going to have to paint the tracks down here also. So that's kind of an involved step. Let's do the Pachtwagen. Let's do the pocket volumes. I want to see what the overbrush on that's going to look like. So this one's done. I need to wake up a little bit more before I do a shitload of rotor wheels. So this is the late war Dunkelgelb by AK MiG 0011. Oh, we got jewelry on. We don't need that. They kind of look like APCs. Yeah, they have kind of like that. They have that APC type look to them. All right, we need a dry brush. A dry brush. What happens if I use one of these? We'll find out. We'll never finish. That's what happens. All right, do we have another one just sitting around here? Or are we going to have to reconstitute one of these? I got a bad habit of just leaving these in water. I don't have any respect for them because they're cheap-ass brushes. Let me get my paper towels. Paper towels need to be over here. Let's take all this stuff out and we'll run some hand sanitizer on here. It gets all that paint from in between the fibers so they lay a little bit more flush. And then I'll dry brush with it and it'll be shot again too. And of course we need water to neutralize that. This is the same color that it was painted with originally before the wash. I am. Did you need me? Okay. You always use cheap ass brushes because I don't look after them. Yep. And you can't take care of everything, you know. And honestly, there's not really any good brushes around here. This is going to soften the color and make it look like it's faded a little bit. I did take a picture of this when I started, just so you can be like, man, it didn't look very good. Yeah, well, this is step 1 of like 12 steps, so. I've done enough of these vehicles now that I know that this will work out in the end. I'll be happy with the results. Uh-oh, I'm not happy with that. I'm not happy with that. I wasn't even scrubbing it that hard. I don't know what we're going to glue that pencil mount with. It's held on a little bit. Let me try to salvage that right now. I'm going to use super glue. I'm going to use super glue and apply it with the edge of the X-Acto knife. We'll leave your ass alone. And I actually do want this cardboard to soak some of this paint up because it's way too watery. It's wonderful for airbrushing. It's terrible for dry brushing. I mean, I'm not a fan of it. It's just super, super wet. Okay, we're going to go over all this. Oh, how did we get that on here? Dadgummit. I must have brought some paint up on it. It's not a big deal. I can get it off, but it's causing derailments. Let's get all that off because we have a light color and a recess. That's a no-no. That's a no-no how I paint. Okay. We good? All right. All right, so we're going to rub over this edge. Let's avoid that MG42 like the plague. Okay, so the next step on this is we're going to paint the tires. I'm going to paint all these tires. And we will do that by something along this size. I use black, and the reason I use black is because we're going to weather it, and if you use gray, even a dark gray, it looks too light when you weather over it. Just a drop of Flow-Aid Makes a big difference. So that it doesn't take, let's take this shit off. Yeah. That looks better. I probably still wouldn't be happy with it if I haven't finished some of these things to completion like this. Because this was hand painted on the original one. All right, we're going to take this brush that we so picked with the black paint. I need more of this black. Bless you. That one's not quite doing the trick. It's got a few too many bristles that are out of place that I'm having to. These are probably the cheapest brushes I've got. Like Craft Smart brushes. I think they're from Michaels or something like that. They're really not very good. But the flow weight allows the paint to go on a lot smoother. So you can just bring the black paint up to this little rim and then just slide it around it instead of like trying to paint around something that's not it's like if you're trying to cut something round with a blade that's square, kind of like that. So this avoids that altogether. Just pull it up against it and just slide it around. It saves a lot of time, comes out very neat. It does increase the drying time a little bit, which is unfortunate, but there's got to be a con to a pro. I gotta watch that MG42. I don't want to put any pressure on that thing. Because these models weren't really difficult to put together. This is a Rodin model. I got it really inexpensive off eBay about a year ago, something like that. But Rodin makes the things pretty much to scale, so they don't make oversized machine guns and things like that, which tend to be more robust. So even though they look more realistic, they're a hell of a lot less durable. And they have mounting things, like they'll have a piece, they'll tell you to put one piece on top of another one, and there's not like a lip or anything there to hold it in place. So they require more faith than other models. I think they're Polish. I think Rodin is Polish. in case we see any of this from the back side. We're going to paint the inside of this tire as well. All right, that one's done. Next one. And then one bottle of Flow Aid will probably last, I don't know, rest of my life. You don't use very much. And I don't mix it at the rate that they say, mix one drop for every 25 parts. Like, I don't have time for that. So we just put a little drop of it and then use it as kind of like wedding drops. Watch that MG42. Okay. Got one there. Got one there. Okay, can't see anything. Let's flip it over to here. If you see it from the other direction, make sure we don't have any paint to transfer onto somewhere else that doesn't belong. And I got to repair it. Okay. Okay, there's half the wheels painted. Well, not counting the one in the back, which is the spare. Not counting the one in the back. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and do this because I don't want to risk breaking that machine gun and then I don't have a place for it to attach. Let's do this. These the super readers? They are. Okay. Where is the? There it is. The holder. Yeah, some people swear by those Winsor and Newton brushes, but first of all, they're not available. They didn't even have them available at Historicon. And if you've spent any amount of time buying brushes, cheap or otherwise, you know that lots of people obsess with, hey, what size brush do you use? The size brush used is irrelevant. Well, to a certain degree. You can't use a 5. But brushes that are like a 1, a 0 for sure, maybe even a 1, all the way down to like a 5/0 are the same. You know, I'm not, because it all depends on what tip it has. So I don't even look at the size brushes. I just look at it and see what kind of how much paint it can hold, and how fine a point it has, and what kind of control it has. So for really fine detail stuff, I actually prefer what are they called? Liners, as opposed to rounds. I'm not a big fan of rounds to begin with. Liners seem to be a lot better. They got longer bristles. You got more control over them. Just all around better. Now this is whatever it is. This is a number 2 synthetic piece of crap. So I'm not going to mail order a brush sight unseen that happens to cost like $20 for one. Like, no. You know, the brushes I have around here that I've done that fine lettering are cheap brushes. These are from Hobby Lobby. You know, they're the fine touch, and they work just fine, and they crap out just as easy as something else. So, yeah, I use the cheap ones myself, but mainly because I don't have an option. I don't have a store here where you can buy these sable brushes. Okay, the MG42 is on the other side. All right, I feel better about that. As long as you're not using the tester's brushes that are all synthetic, have short bristles, and all go like this. Those aren't good for anything. Let's go ahead and paint the inside of this while we're thinking about it. Yeah, so this is kind of a pain in the butt to do, but it's a lot easier than painting a bunch of Roman sandals. I mean, there's only 8 wheels, for starters. almost done with this. Let's move this over here. Now, I already have the black out here. Let's go ahead and do the road wheels on the Panther. This is way too big for that. You gotta wait for the black on there to dry. Whew. Let's paint the road wheels. And here, these are actually don't have a rim. So normally there would be a rim, and then the rubber wheel would come against that. There's no rim there, so I'm just going to paint the whole rim black. Like it just goes all the way to the edge. I really don't have much of a choice. Most of that is going to be covered up by the, I would say we got like the end here. We'll come in and we're going to paint this whole edge black. And that flow-aid makes it real easy. Like you pick a spot and it's almost like you sweep across it. You know, it's almost like you're mopping the floor. Like you pick a spot and you kind of spread the paint around. Because this flow-aid makes it thins the paint. I don't know, it's just like it's like lubricated. The same thing. I'm going to come over here. Just going to slide that around. Okay, same thing here. And I picked this stuff up on a whim, actually. It was one of the ingredients for their brush cleaner. And I used so little of it in the mixture. I'm like, what am I going to use this for? I just kind of started experimenting with using this thing as kind of like wetting drops. You know, like wetting drops you'd use for your eyes, but the same thing for the brush to keep it flowing well. And I've been real happy with it. Okay, we've hit all of them from this angle. So I'm going to turn around, do the same side, and do the same situation like this. Okay, that one's done. That one's done. That one's done. That one's done. All right, now I am going to do the ones on the inside. I don't know if I can reach them with this paintbrush. Okay, got that one done. Just one more on this side and we're done. Okay. And flip all the way to this side. I'll be right back. Let me go grab a soda. Yeah, so you can tell the difference between doing or not doing the road wheels. Here they are not done. And there they are done. It looks a lot better. It'll look even better when the track's painted. Or the base color on the track is painted. I'll be right back. You know, everybody has different methods of achieving, even if they want the same result, they have different methods of getting there. And I've kind of have my own method of doing things. If other people have a different way of doing it, that's cool. But there's a couple things that I've kind of done on my own. I mean, other people may do it, okay? But I didn't watch other people do it and then modified their version. And that's with vehicles, you know, because I hadn't done a vehicle since about 1998 until a year and a half ago. So I don't want to do like 40 or 50 vehicles and not be happy with them. So I spent a lot of time watching what other people had done, kind of making mental notes, what I liked that they did, what I didn't like that they did, and got some ideas from some other folks that I may not have come up with on my own. One of them is the dark brown wash. I've never done that before. I want to say that's Sonic Sledgehammer. And I'm like, I saw the end result of his vehicles, and it added modulation. You know, modulation didn't exist in the mid '90s. Nobody called it that. People that were doing 1/35th scale models weren't doing modulation. Some people that do 1/35th scale models now still don't do it. But I got a spare soda here. But I watched Sonic Sledgehammer's video and I liked what he did. So I took that kind of on my own. Dry brushing the main color back on after I do the camouflage. Maybe somebody else did that, but that was my way of achieving airbrush-like results before I had an airbrush. I don't know if other people do that. I didn't get it from them. I think it works really well. But the main thing that I never saw anybody ever do is I prime everything in black. I always have for decades. For decades, I prime everything in black. And since I primed everything in black, I'm like, I might as well just apply the color using a dry brush technique to begin with. So you have some of that darkness that gets left in areas. And I like that. That's kind of my own style. Other people may do things like that, but I like it. And it's just a contrast thing. I just realized that I've got to create a lot more contrast than people do in like a 1/35th scale model so that you can see the kind of detail 3 or 4 feet away. But at the same time, it can't be sloppy because I'm very nearsighted, and if I'm painting without my contacts, it's going to look like total shit to me. So, ultimately, it's up to you how you want to go about it. That's just the reasons why I made the decisions that I did with the painting style that I did. So, chipping, I don't really like chipping. I think it looks okay sometimes, but it's one of those things that if other people do it, it looks good. If I do it myself, it doesn't look very good. So it's not really a look that I want to achieve. Same thing. I don't want to use powders. I don't want light colors like powders and dust to work themselves into recesses because it basically undoes everything that I do. And yes, it looks more realistic, but it also makes the model blend too much so that at 3 feet away it just looks like a blur. So it's kind of taking all those things at once and deciding how you want to handle those, you know? And like I've always said, I'm not trying to convert anybody. I'm just kind of hanging out. I'm just kind of doing this, and you guys want to hang out and have a conversation, cool. I'm not here to convert anybody, I don't get brownie points or get a thrill out of having other people lose their way and people do it the new way. That's not me. I'm not that guy. There's lots of people that are that guy. Oh, you're doing it wrong if you're not doing it my way. Because I may see something else that I like, and I might modify the way I'm doing stuff. It's work in progress. But the only reason, like I've said this before, the only reason I even got an airbrush is because priming in black by hand painting was taking forever, and sealing with the rattle cans was just really poor quality, and super toxic smelling. Regardless of whether or not you were in an enclosed environment or not, you could have an open environment, have the garage completely open, And that stuff still stinks. They changed the formula and all this stuff. All right, so we're going to do this again. We're going to go around the edges of the road wheels. So I know Jeffrey watches these shows afterwards. He sent me a link on Facebook of an idea of an article that somebody did on foliage, and I actually bought that episode of War Games, Folgers, and Strategy, which I love buying this stuff digitally. You know, you can get it immediately, and you never have to worry about the pages getting dog-eared. So we may try doing some of those techniques in the near future. But that's all stuff that we can add after the fact. I thought I was using this brush for everything, but I guess I wasn't. I thought I was using that one. Hell, I don't remember. This is relatively forgiving, so I'm not putting a whole lot of thought into this. But I guess a couple of years ago, 3 years ago or something like that, the speed paints came out. Like, oh man, you should try those. I'm like, those are great if it gets people from not getting frustrated in the hobby, but cutting corners really isn't my the way forward for me. You know, I'll see something that I like a lot better than the stuff that I do, and I'm like, all right, time to turn it up to 11. You know, I don't get discouraged by stuff like that. I'm like, all right, I thought I was doing good, and I like that better. Let's improve on what I'm doing. And I have a relatively slow way of painting things, especially figures. But generally, the people that I like, that I hold in high regard with their painting, have an even slower method. So I can't I can't cut the corners and make better figures. You know, so best thing I can do is just stay the course, and the project will be done whenever the project's done, and that's when the project will be done. Not, hey, I got to get this done by Monday night kind of thing. That method doesn't work for me. I get rushed like that at work too much as it is. So we need to leave work things at work, not bring them home with us. You know, working conditions at work, not home. Now, a lot of this stuff is going to get covered over when I end up dry brushing over it. But it does make a difference. It does make a difference. You can see if you didn't do it, or I can see if I didn't do it. So it just takes a little bit of effort. You only have to do it one time. Well, once per vehicle. So by the time I'm done with the road wheels on the other one, this one will be ready to go. We want to see what, when we weather, and then do the black. The black lining is where it's going to be not true black lining, but just making those things pop. The other thing that I'm pretty happy with is my way of putting the decals on. I've got this Pledge Floor Care that I just sparingly apply to the areas that are going to be where the decal is. There's no reason to spray the entire model with a gloss coat that you end up having to go over with a flat coat anyways. So you're asking to have extra glossy areas that you wouldn't normally have to have. That's just the way I do things, you know. Everybody has their own preferences to different ways that they go about it. And I've lost count on how many vehicles I've done. It's over 100 now, for sure. Okay. This Panther is done road wheel wise. Now, how are these road wheels doing? Let's go ahead and do, what time is it? Yeah, let's go ahead and do the other one. That way they're both done on both vehicles. I want to get to the part where I have pan paint the big ass numbers on the tracks. Alright, let's take this Panther. I don't think I've ever called the Panzer 5, ever. Unless you count me just counting it right now. Panzer 5 would be it. I don't think I've ever called them Panzer 5, which that's technically what they are. Well, we glued this morning. Did it still not take? I think it did. Yeah, there's still some wet spots. Let's come back to that. We'll be back in a moment. working on their hobbies, nice and quiet. All right. The outer road wheels. And then we still have to do the tracks. As I said, it takes a while, but the good news is once you do this, you don't have to do this vehicle again. It's not like yard work that takes forever. In like 2 weeks, you got to do it again. This stays done. Okay, and then we'll get it from this angle. Okay, there's that one. And this goes in between these two. And then same way here. And it's flipped to the other side. Okay, you go to the other side. Oh, I'm on the wrong chat. What isn't it just default to live chat? The difference is sometimes the bot will automatically like censor people. And your comment doesn't appear on there, even though I wouldn't even think that it's something controversial. You mention some key word, and it's like, whoa, they might be up to no good. Let's not post their comment on here. We don't need extra policing on this channel. We haven't needed it yet. You guys know how to behave. You guys are adults. All right, let's flip to this side. And I should be on again tomorrow night. Tuesday's a no-go. We have our monthly model meeting. Seems like that month that happens between model meetings is just really, really fast. flip over to this side, make sure we didn't miss anything. Doesn't look like it. Now there's some other things that end up being black as a base, kind of like the MG34. I don't bother doing that right now. I don't want it weathered. Otherwise it doesn't stand out. It kind of defeats the whole purpose. The tracks. Do we do the tracks now? No, because I'm going to have to do the tracks up here as well. That's a lot of that process could be a while. Let's go ahead and jump on the Packwagen and do the weathering on it. Or bring some of the colors that are going to be in the groundwork up onto the vehicle. So, for temperate stuff, we use US Field Drab and good old Iraqi sand. So we're going to grab the Field Drab first. And can I set this upside down without putting pressure on the MG42? Maybe. Maybe I can get away with that. We'll find out. Let's, I'm going to go ahead and dry brush on a smaller section of this so that I can move it out of the way and I'm not forced to have it underneath here where I could possibly transfer those colors onto something else that I have to then repair. So we're looking for a dry brush. Something like this would be just fine. Go ahead and take some hand sanitizer so we can get the paint out from in between the bristles. And we'll neutralize it with water. Might actually be a little too small, this brush. We'll find out here shortly. We're going to put it on here. Let's find out if this is a little too small. Let's get almost all of this out. It's a little too small. It doesn't mean we can't use it, but we have to use something else first. Oh, and we didn't paint the tire on the back. Damn it, man. Well, we'll add that afterwards. It's just one of those things. You know, it's not that big of a deal. Habits are hard to... I guess as long as the heavy paint's not there, we should be all right. Flip to this side. too heavy on this from the standpoint of putting a lot of pressure on these. The running gear on these things is very easy to break. And then I would have a fine mess on my hands. I can't bring this all the way up. Remember, we got Iraqi sand to go over it as well. Let's do the outside of this. Need more of this stuff right here. Shit. All right, well, there's a little spot there for it. I'm going to go ahead and remove it. And we'll attach that at the end. I guess it broke off, but avoids it breaking off later, not noticing it, and if the piece falling away, and then I have no point defense for this thing. Just go over the bottom edge here a little bit. This helps tie in the vehicle into the stand it's going to be on. Now, a couple things. Well, I still have the black here because I actually missed a couple things. There's a part of the tire here that got left in gray. Accidentally, I believe it's this right here. And also this back tire, which isn't painted at all. Okay, got that taken care of. Hey, if you catch something you missed, no big deal. Just get it later. All right, now would be the time where we could we paint the tracks, but it's just too big of a project at this point. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to call this evening an evening, so I can wait for that to dry. The next step is going to be to add this dark earth onto that tire, and then do Iraqi sand the same way over this, and specifically working on the corners of this vehicle. It just kind of makes everything like just go together. So. But anyhow, thanks for stopping by, folks, and we'll see you guys probably tomorrow night. All right, guys.